If you're using the Canon R6 Mark II for video production and you have a simple setup with a lens and maybe a microphone on top, let me show you how to transform it and build your own camera rig that can be used handheld or on a tripod. Besides, it will protect your camera and lens because it's solid like a tank. This setup is not so complicated. I will break it down for you piece by piece. It will help you create videos much easier, faster, and it will make you look way more professional in front of your clients, so you will be able to charge more money. I'm constantly using this camera rig for all my indoor and outdoor projects, and to me, it's the perfect setup. First of all, if you just use your camera as it is and you're happy with the results, it's completely fine. But if you want to level up and shoot videos that are more professional, you will need to attach an external microphone to record better audio using the hot shoe mount. Also, when recording videos outside with the sun in the sky, the LCD display from the back of the camera is not bright enough and it's small. So you will need to attach an external monitor. The thing is, you've already used the Omni mount for the microphone, and you need to choose which one do you need most, the microphone or the external monitor. So a camera rig solves these problems. And another aspect is that the camera needs to be more protected against possible hits and scratches. At least this is what I think. I invested some real money buying this camera and lenses, and I need to protect this gear as much as I can. So this is when a cage comes in handy because it has a bunch of threaded holes, RE locating pins at the top, which I will talk about later, and you will be able to mount lots of accessories, not just one. This is why a cage is like a hero. It solves many issues and it's the centerpiece of the rig. This is the Black Mamba cage, designed for the Canon R6 Mark II. It's made by Small Rig, and you will see lots of products in this video. They will be all listed in my description, but I want you to know that this video has no sponsor. All these are products that I purchased on my own, and I recommend them because I use them constantly in my workflow. So this cage looks and feels really good. It's sturdy, I like the texture on it, and it's lightweight, only 0.34 pounds or 158 grams. And it has a built-in Arca Swiss mounting as well. On the inside, there are some rubbers. These help to avoid any scratches on your camera. I really appreciate this because I'm a person that doesn't like his gear to be hit or to be scratched in any way as much as possible. I suffer a lot when I accidentally scratch any of my gear. The cage also comes with a magnetic wrench, which you can use to unscrew or tighten up the screw at the bottom that goes into the threaded hole or the tripod mount of your camera. But you can also use it for the two small locks with their own little screws, which enter the strap lugs of your camera, preventing it from twisting. So in total, this cage has 3 secure attachment points, which hold your camera in place, which is really a positive thing. And the camera that I'm using is, of course, the Canon R6 Mark II. You already know how good this camera is, especially in 4K up to 60 FPS. The image quality is really amazing, and combined with a good lens, it's simply the perfect camera for my needs, whether I'm shooting for YouTube or for my clients. So as you can see, you still have access to the SD card slots on the side, the battery compartment. You can access the shutter and the record button very easily. And I like how the cage protects this front side of the camera. All the ports on this side are really accessible, but I will show you what's the problem here and how to take care of it. So overall, the camera is safe now, but it also feels good in the hands. I don't feel bothered by the added weight. So if you just want to take photos having only this cage on your camera, I think you will like it and it's a good choice. Now, here's one thing that I don't like. You see, when you have the cage mounted on the camera and you use a heavier zoom lens like the one that I mostly use, which is the Canon RF 24-70mm f2.8, the whole setup leans forward and the front of the lens is touching the table in this case. The weight that's pressing on this contact point here is not so big at the moment, but it will add up quickly as soon as you will put other accessories on top of the cage, like for example, the external monitor and the monitor's battery, for example. I don't like to put too much stress on the lens mount here in this area, and it could happen that you have no table around you to put your camera down, so maybe you'll have to put it on the ground, and I'm not a big fan of this, to be honest with you. This is why I prefer to add this rubber on the focus ring of the lens, and under my whole setup, these cylindrical bars, which are called rods. But let me show you how to add them to the cage and how they help you, because you will need 4 different accessories here. This rubber band is the Tilta Seamless Focus Gear Ring. They can be found in various sizes, so I will drop you a link in the description to all of them. You will need to measure the diameter of your lens and see which focus ring fits best. For this 24 to 70mm lens from Canon, the 85 to 87mm was the right choice for me. It could be a bit tricky to put this rubber ring onto your lens, but trust me, it's worth it. Even though the whole setup still leans forward and puts some pressure on the lens mount, at least the lens is much more protected and it's not touching the table or any other surface. So you can safely put your camera down with more confidence. This is the first benefit of this simple rubber focus ring. The second benefit is that if you want to use the manual focus sometimes, the grip that you have with the rubber ring on is far better. You can rotate the focus ring very easily with just one finger and very little effort. This focus ring is usually used in a combination with a focus motor, but this is a video for another time. The main idea here is that this is a very inexpensive accessory and it really helps when you need manual focusing. The next piece of gear that you need is this one, the small rig camera base plate. This also has different mounting points on top, as well as rubber pieces for increased protection and to avoid unwanted movements. It will be attached under the cage using these two screws that come in the package together with an Allen key. But before attaching it to the cage, we need to do the following. You see, it has these 15mm diameter holes on the sides, 2 of them, which are meant to fit these 2 lightweight carbon fiber rods from Small Rig. These come in a pack of 2. They are 8 inches long and 15mm in diameter. All you need to do is to insert them into the base plate, make sure they are at the same level with the back of the plate, and then tighten the screws to hold them in place. At the front, we need another accessory here to hold the 2 rods and at the same time to maintain the same level with the base plate because, as you can see, they are lined up perfectly, and that's exactly what you need to aim for. You want a stable, horizontal base. This product is from Nicey Rig, and it's a 15mm diameter rod clamp. Like I said, everything is listed in the description. If for some reason, after you tighten this, you end up in a position something like this is a problem because this whole piece now is not stable at all. But all you need to do is to drag this outwards, rotate it in the desired position, and then let it go. And from there, it will lock in that position. As you can see, I keep them oriented upwards because aesthetically, it looks better to me. Now you need to take this whole piece that you built and attach it to your camera. For this, I will turn the camera upside down and I will insert the screws in these 2 holes in the cage through the back of the base plate. Always use 2 screws because it's the best way to keep things stable and avoid twisting. Now, before taking care of the upper part of the rig, let's take a look at how this setup looks at this stage. Your camera, your lens are protected. There is no pressure at the front of the lens or the lens mount. I can simply hold the camera just like this. It's very comfortable. I have a good grip. And the best part is that I can easily reach for the rubber focus ring and rotate it without problems. Don't ignore this rubber ring because it really helps a lot for a better grip. If you look at the top of the cage, you can see a bigger threaded hole here, along with these 2 smaller holes called RE locating pins. Now, this is the handle that I'd recommend with this cage, the Small Rig top handle with locating holes for RE. These small pins will secure the position of the handle on the cage so that it will not twist. Before attaching the handle, I want to show you that you have plenty of mounting options on it as well. You have 3 different cold shoe mounts here, here, and here. This one is a bit more special because it also has a safety pin that doesn't allow the external monitor or the microphone to slip out. And you also have a small magnetic Allen key for the screw, which has its own spot built into the handle. I like the attention to all these details, including these ones meant to accommodate your fingers. So let's attach this handle, which can be mounted like this, but I like it more mounted like this because the whole setup feels better in my hand. This is a really easy process, and then I use the magnetic key to tighten the screw. So the setup starts to look very nice, right? Before buying my first cage, before building my first rig, I was so skeptical that I will like this kind of stuff. But seems like it's very addictive, and it feels good to build things like this. Now, remember I told you I need to come back here to the ports because there's a safety issue you'll need to fix. So I will come back, but for now, let's add the external monitor. I have two monitors, and depending on the project that I have, I choose one of them. This is the Atomos Shinobi. It's a 5-inch monitor, perfect for outdoor projects. It has a 1000 nits brightness, and to me, it was always a very helpful accessory because I can see a much bigger image of what I'm filming, and I have all the necessary tools to achieve a correct exposure: histogram, zebra, false color, and so on. The Canon R6 Mark II has these tools as well, but the LCD screen is too small for me. Now, if you need an external monitor that can also record footage on an SSD drive, this is the way to go. The Atomos Ninja 5. It has all the functions from Shinobi, and on top of that, you can record footage with it. And if you have a fast SSD drive, you will be able to record up to 6K using the Canon R6 Mark II. Both monitors are using NPF batteries, and when I have longer recording sessions, I use these ones, which are pretty big, or the smaller ones, which are also a bit lighter. For this rig, I will use the Atomos Shinobi because the monitor itself is much lighter than the Ninja 5. But in order to be able to mount the monitor on the handle, you will need this piece of gear. It's a monitor holder from SmallRig that has a cold shoe on one end and a screw on the other end. So the screw goes into the monitor just like this, and after this step, you simply attach it to one of the cold shoe mounts on the handle. I like to put it here in the front because this way I have plenty of room for my hand. It's very comfortable. I also like the fact that you can then adjust this monitor in any angle you want, and you can tighten this up just to make sure it doesn't move too easily. So now it's time to focus on this part, to sort out the cables. First of all, you need to open the rubber doors, and let me show you what's the problem here. You see, Canon did not include a full-size HDMI port on this camera, which is a shame. So this right here is a micro HDMI port, which you will use to connect to your external monitor. When you insert the cable here, this port becomes very, very exposed to any kind of small hits, and trust me, you don't want to damage this HDMI port. You need something solid here to protect this port. So here's what you need. This is a cable clamp, also from SmallRig, designed for this black Mamba cage. It uses one single screw that goes into the cage, and then it has two more screws. When you receive it, this screw will be mounted here in the middle. You need to unscrew it and mount it on the bottom hole because here will be the HDMI port. Let's mount it to the cage. Just like this. Then insert the HDMI cable, and then when I tighten the screw here, this little piece of metal will press on the cable and keeps it in place. Very important. So if your camera takes a hit, the HDMI port will not be affected. It's very solid. Now, if you want to take this to the next level, I highly recommend you this small but important accessory: a simple HDMI cable adapter from micro HDMI to full-size HDMI. I will show you why this is important. First of all, let's disconnect this cable and mount the adapter on the side of the cage right here. Insert the cable into the micro HDMI port of the camera and then tighten up the screw to make sure it stays in place. Right off the bat, you can't deny it. It looks really clean this way. But the major benefit is that from this point, you can just use a simple full-size HDMI cable on both ends, and you'll never have to worry about the micro HDMI port from the camera, because this little cable is here to stay. And if you don't need an external monitor at some point, for example, you just disconnect the main cable from here and that's it. So having this setup, I recommend you a cable just like this, about 20 inches long, 50 centimeters. This is perfect to me. I bought this locally, but you'll find the link in the description for a similar one. Now let's attach the microphone. I use a very simple one with a good sound. It's the Rode VideoMicro version 1, and I love it because it doesn't require a battery. It uses power from the camera. This version is a bit harder to find now, but I recommend you the Rode VideoMicro version 2. The microphone goes into this cold shoe mount on the cage. It fits perfectly, and then you take the red cable, which has a jack, and you insert it into the microphone input of the camera. And if you're shooting outdoors, you definitely need an ND filter. I use this one from Nissi. It's an older model, but I love it because it has this small handle that makes the rotation of the ND filter way easier, and you can control the brightness of your image. I also use the newer version in some projects, the Nissi True Color ND filter, and I will link it below because I think it's a very good product. So now the setup looks like this, and it's ready to be used handheld. But what if you also want the option to mount it on a tripod? You see, this is the tripod that I use, and the most important part here is the fluid head. It's from Manfrotto, it's very smooth and fluid, and it uses this long, quick release plate. You can attach it to the base plate of the rig. Always use 2 screws for this to make it safe and sturdy, and now your whole rig can be mounted on a tripod as well if you need to record some stable shots, or you just simply don't want to keep your camera on the ground when you're not using it. And if you choose to put it on a table, this is how it looks like. It doesn't lean forward at all, and if you do a balance check while using it handheld, here you go. The rig is well balanced because the majority of the weight is distributed at the bottom of the setup. So again, to me, this specific rig is the perfect one for my projects, and I hope this rig will be the perfect one for you too. The rig can be upgraded, of course, maybe with a better microphone if you need it. I don't need a very big and expensive microphone at this point because I usually shoot B-roll stuff and the final video will have a voiceover. Or I'm shooting with some team members and they use lavalier microphones or better microphones than mine, so they sync up all the audio from all the cameras at the end and it's fine. Anyway, if you have any questions about this setup, please drop a comment and I will do my best to respond and help you. I'm Christy, and if you like this video, you're going to enjoy this one on the screen. Take care and see you next time.